aware that you got to look at this thing. You can't be greedy. You've got to, we've got to look at where the market was last spring and adjust. Because buyers today are the most sophisticated buyers we've ever had. There's more knowledge out there than there's ever been. I find a lot of times my buyers have almost stalked some of these houses. And they'll say, Kevin, I think there's only a $292,000 mortgage on this. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So they are challenging you as the realtor to kind of go outside your comfort zone and know more about these houses than you've ever had to know before. In the old days, I always say, if I knew when I was going to show a house and we started walking in, as long as I knew three questions, they were happy. They want to be reminded, how much is this again? When was this built? And how long has it been on the market? Those three questions right there were the biggest three questions. And I always would take my sheet with me, so that way if I did forget something real quick, I had it right there to answer. So that's my story. I've been in this office since the get-go. We weren't actually here in this office when I first started. We were down the street. We moved here in '06, and it's been I've really enjoyed it. So that's my story. I thought very quickly I want you to go around, introduce yourself to me. If you're new to real estate or you're transferring from another company, and what you did prior to being in real estate. So, Kiara?
I'm Kiara. We know each other, so I'm going to look at you. I do property management currently. I'm transitioning out, and I'm a brand new agent, like 16.
Okay.
I'm Maya. I am a brand new agent, well, less new later, since November, transitioning out of digital marketing. I still have the job, just need a 12-month timeline to get out of there.
You said digital marketing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep.
Tim Andrews. I am a new agent, and I'm coming out of the rail transportation investigation.
Anthony Dorsey, new agent, background in HR, work at Delta, and yeah, that's about it.
Hi, I'm Mia, and I'm a new agent, and I had a mortgage company previously in California, and before I came here, I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years.
Good. Cynthia?
Cynthia Adams, joined this office since last year, July, and that's it. And
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Kevin, definitely.
She's a good cook of ribs, too. I helped her out for a couple of deals, and all of a sudden she shows up with, I cooked you ribs. They were very good.
Yeah, there is a story behind that because definitely I'm a grateful person and also a big questioner. And I spend a lot of time of Kevin, and wherever he go, I always follow him, no matter when. So he's been always be nice to me, patient, always give me lots of suggestion, guidance. Yeah, I've been very, very grateful. That's the ribs come from.
and look, and then you end up in his class today.
All right. Anna?
Anna Corley Butt. Anna Corley's first name. And I am transitioning. I have been nannying for the past 10 years. And so I am now saying goodbye to my kids and doing this.
So you're doing both or you do the nanny?
No, I separated from my last family in October and then took the course and passed in January.
Gotcha.
So brand new.
Okay. Kate?
I'm Katie. I'm a new agent. I'm also assistant in the Providence Group for Claxton John. I've been here since May, and before that I was a stay-at-home mom.
Did you just get your license, or you had it back then and you just got it?
I just got it in November.
Okay. I got you. So you kind of got the fever and decided to... Good. All right.
My name is Tia Field. I'm a new agent, and I also work at Coca-Cola.
What do you do there?
I'm a freestyle project specialist.
You didn't know Bob, though, huh?
No, I know, I work with his son.
All right, Pete?
Pete English, been in the technology business for many, many years, and then just renewed my license in November, so trying to learn something.
Bob?
Bob Petrina, new agent. I worked for Coca-Cola for 34 years, retired in December, and starting a second career in real estate.
Okay. Jeanette?
My name is Janae Buchan. I'm also a new real estate agent. I was in student affairs for the last 8 years, and I worked for City of Refuge as a house manager.
Where were you in student affairs?
Georgia State, UGA, Florida Southern, Spelman College.
Who'd you work for at Georgia State?
Steve DeVere and Stephanie Bent in housing.
Oh, in housing,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, I was there when we started housing,
Wow.
back in, when the Olympic housing came.
By Georgia Tech.
By Tech, yeah, that's all we had at that point. Now it's tons. of
Everywhere.
housing, yeah. All right, so, thank you for telling me who you are, so that way, when I see you in the office, I can say hello to you, and you can say hello back to me. I do want to speak, before I get started, on what Cynthia said about the level of help and why it's important for everyone in this office to make you all good. And because when you talk to other realtors, and they go in their office, everything's, they're looking around.
Right,
They're not trying to share information and so forth, and we're the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
We want to share information and make you better. And at the end of the day, you have to embrace the profit sharing. In other words, if the only way your profit sharing can become greater is if there's more company dollar. So if I spend a little bit of time to help you all become better at what you're doing, and in turn, I may not get, I'm not going to get anything monetarily from that point. I will get something emotional from that point by helping you. But the next month or whenever you close a deal, maybe that just boosts my profit sharing just a little bit. Because I'm sure Brad's kind of explained to you all, they take all the company dollar, and 52% goes back to the equity owners, 48% comes back to the agents. You have to have people in your downline to start getting those checks. So that's why it's so important for everyone here to help each other. And it just makes for a good culture of being here to help people. So, let me tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to spend the first half of the class or so just kind of talking about buyers. And when we talk about, most of y'all have been in real estate class sometime in the last 3 to 6 months. And, they preach to you in there the textbook way to do things. You gotta get that buyer's brokerage. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. Earnest money. And there's a lot of truth to a lot of those things, but also there's a practical way. That's a realistic way that I'm going to try to share with you today. So we're going to kind of go through this handout, talk about buyers, the upsides, the downsides, the reasons why we want to treat buyers good, and so forth. Then I'm going to, we'll talk about what to do when we have a buyer's consultation.
Mm-hmm.
What do we talk about? Hey, well, what you want to buy?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've got to kind of develop that to your personality. I always tell people, I'm dating myself. You know what a Rolodex is? Everybody knows what that is? I mean, no one uses those anymore. But
I've seen it once.
You see it once. But in the old days, you had a little card for every person, and when if you like someone, you put them in the Rolodex. And I like to say, when you hear something good today, that you'll take that and put it in your Rolodex, because at the end of the day, there's going to be 14 different buyer's consultations. I'm just going to share with you what I do. That's not the absolute right way, but it's just a suggested way. Here's someone who this has been successful for me. And then the last thing we will do is I'm going to take a flow chart, and it will start from buyers and work all the way down to the closing. And that I would highly suggest that at the end of class you come up and take a picture of. And then that way you know step by step by step by step by step by step by step what to do, because it all seems easy, then all of a sudden your buyer says, yeah, let's make an offer. I got to write a contract. And they've tried to make it much more simpler today, where basically page 1 you're filling it in, but you got to also think about the what ifs, and that's where the special stipulations come in. And I think that's a whole other class on negotiations, so we really won't go into that part. So, any questions before we get started? All right, so we got a handout here, and I would highly suggest that you fill this in as we go through it, so you'll have a good working idea here. So, a buyer is a person who buys. Absolutely, it's that simple. So we want to talk a little bit about the downsides and the upsides to working with a buyer. When someone calls you and they say, I want to buy a home, you have to realize when you're out with buyers, they're very demanding of your time, they're very demanding of your energy. You can be out with a buyer for anywhere from 2 to 5 hours in a day. Think about all the emails that are coming through. Think about the phone calls that are coming in. But somehow, you kind of got to put that on hold, because I've always said, if I got a buyer sitting in my passenger seat, I've got to make them the most important person in my life. And I'm not going to be distracted by all this stuff, because think about it. They're getting ready to spend the most money that they've ever spent in their entire life. Well, they need someone who's invested time-wise and interest-wise in them. So realize that there's a trade-off. Another downside is there's no guaranteed income. I've worked with buyers for anywhere from 2 to 6 months, and at the end of the time they're like, yeah, I think we're just going to extend our lease. It's like, and you realize, God, I just wasted a lot of time with these people. But when I talk about it later, you have to realize that maybe you didn't waste that much time with them. But you got to realize up front there could be no guaranteed income. Lack of loyalty. The old saying, buyers are liars. And this is, I can't stress enough on your buyer's consultation to go over 2 things with people when they go into open houses and when they go into new construction. This is the 2 places where you'll lose a buyer if you're not paying attention to them. And all of a sudden they walk in an open house, they like it, the on-site agent says, are you working with somebody? Kind of. And they're saying, well, I can make it in your best interest we can cut them out. Okay. And new construction the same way. If you don't go in and register your agent or hand them the card of they have your card, a lot of times that on-site agent can say, hey, we didn't know anything about you. We'll give you 1%, something like that. Here you spent a lot of time with them. So you have to touch base, and when we go over the buyer's consultation, that's just a topic that you have to cover with them. They get cold feet. Bob, you just found that out, didn't you? And this is so true that you know, everything looks hunky-dory. I wanna buy that house, I can see myself moving in it, but there's something pulling them from making that decision. And I always say it's important up front to find out who the buyer's validators are. You know, you've got to get them involved. And I'll give you a perfect story that I had where I had a set of young buyers. They only been married about a year. Found a place in Dunwoody. Yeah, it was a couple updates, but it was kind of a in between a fixer-upper and a nicer home. So the father shows up at the inspection, and we were about 30 minutes into the inspection. He comes around with the son. I see him going. He's pointing everywhere, giving these terrible faces. And I went over to the inspector. I said, "This isn't going to, believe me, this is a waste of time at this point." So sure enough, get the inspection report. Well, they wasted $425 on the inspection report because the dad talked them out of it. They got cold feet. They didn't. So about 10 days later, there's another house that comes up in Dunwoody. And he says, "Can we go see that tonight?" I said, what's your dad doing?" He says, "What do you mean?" He said, "I think it's probably wise on everyone's behalf if he can make it to come see this, if you guys are that high on it." "Oh, that's a good idea." So once again, we brought him in on the process. The dad is like, you know, "Oh, this is so much better, you know, that other house." You know, he bought into it, and the buyer bought into it. So know who your validators are in this. It's so important. All right, when deals fall apart, you can lose the client. When deals fall apart, you can lose the client. This can happen in the springtime, especially when you're dealing with multiple offers. You know, all of a sudden you lose. If you lose one, they're not gonna. They won't fire you. But all of a sudden you lost 2 or 3 deals, and they keep seeing why they're not getting the homes. You can lose that buyer. They're like, well, obviously these other people's agents were figuring out how to do this. How come my agent doesn't have it figured? And that's why it's so important to go the extra yard when you have these multiple offers. So, you know, before you write any offer, you've got to call the agent. You got to find out are there any offers on the table. Are you negotiating any offers on the table? And if the answer is yes, then you can't assume that you're going to get that house, no matter what you offer them. You know, there's all kind of things. You know, we've got to lower our due diligence days. We got to write a letter and you know, to the sellers and tell them how great that you want to raise a family in here. You know, you've got to you know, look at doing some other things about putting some more money. Maybe you didn't want to put 20% down, but boy, that's going to make you solid as a buyer. Do you want to potentially, you love this house, you got some extra money, do you want to remove the appraisal contingency? Those are ways to get your offer just in the middle of the pack to the top of the pack. And we if you come to the Tuesday meetings here pretty soon, Brad spends about 2 or 3 meetings just going over, here's some great ways to differentiate your offer from the other offers. But, you know, I had this happen, and it was, you know, we were doing all this stuff, but the guy had to be FHA. He had to have his closing costs involved, and it was killing us on all these deals because he didn't have the extra money to pay between the purchase price and maybe the appraised price to raise the price. And after, you know, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you know, they sent me an email and said, we're going, you know, we think we're going a different direction. Not really my fault, but at the same time, I'm like, good, I was kind of glad it all happened. Because at that point, I'm not wasting my time. Keep writing offers that, you know, that are very difficult to get through in a multiple offer situation. You know, he had to have a townhome in Cobb County with no HOA. There are townhomes, that, believe it or not, that have, if they're fee simple, HOAs generally anywhere from nothing to about $50–$60. So that they do exist. But it was, you know, the FHA part was the, you know, if there's multiple offers, sellers don't really want to go with FHA.
Right.
You know, they're only putting 3.5% down. If it doesn't appraise, we know this person doesn't have any money anyway, because that's why they're going to FHA, the extra money. So just realize that you could lose a client if multiple deals fall apart. Cynthia, you ever lost a client?
In multiple offer situation, I didn't, but definitely I spent a lot of time to babysit them.
Yes. Frustrating. All right. So upsize working with a buyer. It's the quickest way to generate a commission check. I could leave this meeting, check my voicemail, and there may be someone looking to. I mean, this happens about once a year, maybe once every 18 months, where I get a call. Kevin, we just found a house. We need you to come write the contract. Call me when you can. Okay, so here I haven't shown it. I didn't even know they were looking for a house. Or if maybe we were, I knew it, but they had decided to wait till, you know, May. But then, you know, people get antsy and they want to look, and so they go see the house. I write the contract and I get a check 30 days later. You know, those are few and far between like that. But they will happen because they kind of balance the person that looks for 6 months and looks at 42 houses. You realize it all balances out here. But that is the quickest way, or if you have a cash buyer, you know, literally you can get a call and 2 weeks later you're getting a commission check. I guarantee you, since you've had cash buyers, haven't you? It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what's the easier transaction.
Yeah, I mean, you just take away one third of the transaction, which is the financing part of it, and that can be a headache.
Kevin, have you had anybody download that KW app and look at properties, and then you see that they're looking at properties?
Yes and no. So you're getting ahead of me on the
sorry about that.
on the buyer's consultation.
Didn't do that. No,
yeah, but that is something that you should be doing. Now, I usually don't pay as much. Once again, this is me. You guys are getting new in the business. It's like you're going to learn how to do a transaction on dot loop. I've never done dot loop in my life. You know, I do everything through FMLS eSign, and then I just download my documents into dot loop. So it's just that's when I came into the business. That's kind of what we were doing. When I came into the business, we were actually faxing the rolled up pieces of paper that we were coming through. But then when we first got electronic signatures, that's when we did FMLS eSign. So you all should learn dot loop and learn it that way, even though Keller Williams is probably going out of dot loop as soon as we get this KW command. And we'll all probably go to that angle. But in answer to your question, I can look in FMLS in the portals, and it sends me every day when I look at my my board. I can see who's looking at properties and if they like them.
If you set them up,
right,
and you're sending them, I'm just saying, just say, hey, here's this app.
Yeah.
You know, take a look at it.
So that's the way to go. You know, and no, I'm not doing that. But only because, once again, that's just that's all stuff new, and I got to learn it just like you guys do. All right, you can sell your own listings. That's kind of illegal in Keller Williams.
Right.
But you can sell them, and that person can be a, what? A customer, right? Or someone comes to your open house, they like the home, I always say, and they want to make an offer, my comment to them is, everyone deserves representation. We can sit down and start a contract, or I can get you another agent to represent you. Most people are appreciative that you're offering that, so that they become a designated agent. You call them in and generally offer them maybe a 30% referral fee, because they're coming in there, they did nothing.
Right.
I mean, you're the one that procured the client. So if you're going to, you got the buyer's side of the commission, 3%. You give them 30%. You get the difference, or at least have that 70% to continue to negotiate and help your client get under contract. Easy to get referrals from a buyer. It really is. And this is something that I do when I sit down with them at the very first meeting, and I tell them a little bit about how I work as an agent. And I'll say, Tim and Jenny, I work by referral, and let me explain how that works. While most agents are cold calling during the morning hours, I am looking on your behalf at properties. I'm going to visit properties while you're at work. Now, the only way this works, though, is when you hear of someone who are maybe a friend, colleague, or neighbor who is buying or selling a house, that you think of me. So my goal is that during the transaction, that while I'm with them, and this is the greatest chance to be able to get because you're with them all the time, that they will refer you. After that, it depends up to you what type of relationship that you can build with these people and stay in touch. I've adopted the Buffini method, which I know John, he uses that in Clacks. And it's just the way I go about communicating with people with phone calls, notes, and pop-ups. So, I'll explain that at a whole different time. But that's if you explain to people up front at the meeting, at your consultation meeting, then it just helps. There's maybe not an expectation, but at least it's on their mind. There's less pressure on your performance. Meaning, when you go to list a house, and you sit down with a seller and you tell them, I need you to do the following 8 items. We're going to paint the rooms, we're going to declutter all the closets, we're going to create better curb appeal by fresh pine straw, we're going to put a bowl of apples on the island, and you go through all this stuff with them, and we're going to, then that way we'll sell your home. And you've agreed to the price that I've recommended. And all of a sudden, here it comes, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks goes by. They start, I don't want to use the word pissed, because they're wanting to know, Kevin, I did everything you said, how come is it not selling? Whereas a buyer, I tell a buyer up front, Mr. Buyer, my job as your agent is to be an information provider. Okay, I am not going to be picking your house out for you. I may suggest some houses that I think would be in your best interest, but at the end of the day, you are the decision makers. I think they like to hear that. You are the decision makers. My job is to provide comps. My job is to provide negotiation skills for you on your behalf and get you the lowest price possible, depending what the circumstances are of every deal. So, much less pressure on you. Alright, so let's talk about the 2 ways, the approaches to work with buyers. You have a reactionary way and a strategic way. And obviously you want to use the strategic method, although I see a lot of agents doing a reactionary where the clients leading you around.
Mhm.
So the reactionary agent, it reacts to incoming phone calls. Strategic agent creates an incoming referral. All right, let me give you some ideas on that. When you're working with a buyer and or someone who has said, hey, this spring I'm probably going to be in the market, and I'll be looking probably to get really close to the walking distance to Woodstock, the little square of Woodstock. Oh, great. Okay, then I always set myself up on a search, and when I see one property that meets that, I email them that property and say, hey, this sounds like something you might be interested in. Take a look. Just one property. What does that do? A, it shows them that you're in, you're top of mind with me. Kevin's out there spending his work time looking for houses for me, and I'm not even officially on the market. So,
So you don't have a contract with them. This is just something you're doing to show them that you're working for them. Okay.
This is someone who's contacted me though, that will be a client, but it could be either or. If we got a buyer's brokerage agreement, once again, they may be in the middle of looking for a house, or they may be a month away from looking. Still, sending out the one email is a strategic way, because they're gonna look at it,
Right.
and they're gonna have a comment back to you going, but we really wanted to finish basement, even though that first floor is killer. Something like that. But once again, it really doesn't matter. It's the fact that you are thinking about them during the day. All right. The reactionary person allows the buyer to dictate the process. Strategic leads the client. So, once again, this is from the buyer's consultation, how you tell them how I'm going to work with you. I like to, the first time out, I let them pick the houses that they want to go see. I'm looking for, I love this word because I use it with them. I'm looking for the benchmark. We're looking for a benchmark home. So that way I know, I got a better idea. Because the buyer's consultation, they're telling you what they like to see and so forth and so on, you're writing it down. But until you go out and see something, it's really, that kind of either validates what they said in that meeting, or it's going to say, well, that doesn't really align with exactly what they said in the meeting. So let them go out, and then at that point, you've got to encourage them to say, okay, hey guys, I've got next Saturday morning or next Sunday afternoon available. What would y'all like to have? Is either one of those good times? Something good comes on the market, I always will email or text them and say, hey, I'm available today after work. Hey, I can meet you at lunch. Once again, depending on how fast the market is, but to let you know, you want to be out front on this and let them know what your availability is, so they can pick and choose and fit you in. How do you become the most important client? In other words, let's say you got 5 buyers and 3 listings. Okay, how does one person become the most important of those 8? It's always going to be the person who has a date already. What does that mean? You got a listing. We just went under contract and they got to close February 28th. they now have a date, and that they have become a buyer. That's the most important. Because you got 2 weeks to find them something.
Sense of urgency.
Oh yeah, there is a sense of urgency, and or they're going to go into a rental, and you're going to miss out on that commission for 6 months to a year. So, at that point, wherever they were before, they've now become the most important client. Where you might be with them, every other night after work. If the wife, and I always suggest, if one of them doesn't work, hey, why don't I go out with Kelly, and then if Kelly likes something, we'll go back and see it that night and bring Bob. So those are things that you got to kind of, once again, lead the client. All right, the reactionary person indiscriminately shows homes. The strategic one institutes a process of elimination. Now, let me give you a couple ideas for that process of elimination. Let's say you get an out-of-town buyer, and they're in town for a weekend, and they've already told you, Kim, I'd really like to find something this weekend. You got to believe me, you can't just go out and show them 6 houses.
Right.
You're probably going to be showing them probably at least 15 to 25 homes during that time. So what I like to do is I'll get a manila envelope, a big 8.5 by 14 manila envelope, and I've got my packet of houses in the order. I give them one with a clipboard, so that way they can. Generally, there's always a husband or the wife. There's one that's what I call. I grew up with Myers-Briggs, and there was always the person that was J, ESTJ, the last digit. They were J off the charts. They're making all their notes on even the houses that they know they're not going to buy. They're still making notes on these things. So I tell them, I say, look, at the end of the thing, if that's a home you can see yourself in, let's stick it in the envelope, okay? So they'll stick that in there. I said, but here's the rule. If you get 3 in there, and all of a sudden you want to put a 4th in, you got to take one of them out. Okay, that way, when we're through looking at these 20 homes, we will go back and see the top 3. So that's a good method. The other thing I like to do if I'm going out with somebody, I like to kind of make it. I don't want to use the word a game, but it's. I'll tell them at the end of the time. I'll say, okay, Tom and Mary, I need you to answer this independently, honestly. But if you were to be kidnapped and be held hostage, and the only way you could leave was that you had to buy one of these 6 homes, which one are you buying? And everyone kind of laughs at that. And, but here again, I find out first if the husband and the wife are on the same page. I get to find out if there's a benchmark by doing that, and they may say, look, this is the one we like the best. I still want to see some more homes. I'm not sure this area is where we're exactly looking for, but that style home is what we're looking for. Now I'm leaving there. Hey, I didn't sell a house that day, but I became to eliminate, what was bad. Same thing with you're going to meet with people and they're going to say, well, we're open to Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Roswell, Milton, any of those 4. Well, that's a big area, especially when you're going from Johns Creek way over off of McGinnis Ferry up to Milton, and New Providence Road. That's probably 20 miles across that way. But what you do is they're going to see very quickly. Kevin, we're really liking what we see in Milton. There's more land. Okay, well, let's eliminate Johns Creek, which, you know, everything's tighter over there. Let's eliminate Alpharetta, and we'll just concentrate on the Roswell Milton homes. So once again, I didn't sell a home that day, but we eliminated homes. We eliminated an area, and that's critical. So anyway, you know, all of you will start coming up with an institution to come up with a process of elimination. The other person that drives you nuts, yeah, I'll take a townhome, detached home, I don't care. You know, and it's just like, well, we kind of need to make a decision which way we go. So, you know, I've done it where, okay, today we're only looking at detached homes. The next day we're only looking at townhomes, and then we will. They'll kind of get an idea, and then you'll say, all right, which way. And then the other thing, when they find out, if you spend $350,000 on a detached home and spend $350,000 on a townhome, unfortunately, the townhome is going to cost a lot more because you have this HOA fee of anywhere from $250 to $500, and that right there will buy you another $100,000 on the detached side. So anyway, it's always interesting. All right. The reactionary person will trade time, energy, and money for commission checks. The strategic person maximizes the rate of return from each opportunity. All right. Let me give you some examples of how that is so true. I have a person in my downline in this office, and she came to me and she said, I am through with the $100,000 to $125,000 buyers. I'm ready to move up to the $200,000 to $400,000 buyers. I was like, okay. I said, well, what was wrong with the $100,000 $125,000? Well, you just don't make any money. I said, really? Okay. I said, well, you ever think about all the people they know? What do you mean? I said, well, if you take the time and work for anyone. And I said, I got a referral from one of my best clients, works over at Emory, and he wanted me to get his administrative assistant, well, an administrative assistant in another department that he had met, a house. So I met with her, and she said, well, I've been approved for $110,000. True, I'm not going to make a whole lot of money on this, but I gave her my time. We found a house fairly quickly. She closed on it. In fact, it was the house Clax was selling over in Stone Mountain, and treated her just the exact same as I would treat someone buying $800 to $1 million. And about a month later, she calls me up and says, hey, my boss is looking for a house, and he didn't know who to use, and I told him about you. Great. The boss ended up buying $600,000. Yeah, and here again, that's how short-sighted you can be when you look at where you're just worried about the commission check. You've got to realize that once you have someone as a client, you've opened yourself up to their entire sphere of influence. I'm a rare person. I will actually work with, if someone calls me and says, hey, will you help me rent a home? You're like, oh. But I'll go ahead and do that. I always will set the ground rules. I'll say, look, I'll take you out one time. We'll go look at a maximum of 5 houses. And if you can't find what you can there, maybe you can go out and look on your own. So, why am I doing that? Once again, just to treat them well. This whole industry, if you want to rent a home, nobody wants to help you. Because you generally are making just hundreds of dollars and maybe only a couple $100. But once again, you have to realize, if I treat this person well, they'll tell others about me, and that's more important than anything that you can do. Okay. All right. So there's 3 elements of a strategic approach that we want to talk about. The first thing is set the tone. Number 2, fully engage each buyer. And number 3, help your clients make a decision. All right, let's talk about setting the tone first. Write these initials down, this acronym. CITO. All right, anybody can tell me what that acronym might mean?
Care.
No guesses?
Wait, it's a sentence?
Well, I mean, it's 4 words.
Just tell us.
Customer is, client is.
All right, so when you set the tone, you want them to come into the office.
Man.
Okay, come into the office. Now, once again, that doesn't necessarily mean into Keller Williams.
Right.
But it could, I like to meet people at a place like Starbucks or Einstein's, you know, where the meal, once you get into a meal, sometimes everything gets lost. But if you just have a drink,
Finger food.
maybe a bagel or something, you can accomplish what you want to get accomplished. Sometimes you may want to just go over to their house.
But is your goal to meet one of them or both of them?
You always want to meet, well, you want to try your darndest to get both of them there.
For coffee?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I understand both of them,
Yeah.
but it would just seem to me like one of them's going in this direction, one of them's going in that direction,
I
and
realize
coffee's
that.
over there.
All right. And you just got to be flexible. If it's somebody from out of town, a lot of times I've met the person who's already working here. If it was somebody I knew, sometimes I'm going over to their house. Tonight, I got a young couple, because they could, they were going to eat. Because she's working in Duluth, and anyway, that was the only time we could figure it out. I'm not going to go for coffee at 6:30 at night, so I'm going to, I'll spend money on them for dinner tonight. But anyway, you've got to have them come into the office, because if they don't, they're probably not taking this whole thing serious. You've got to come up, and I always tell them, look, our goal is to leave here with a plan of action. And I think people appreciate that, a plan of action.
So if you go to their place, they don't have any skin in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when you say skin in the game, I mean, the thing that's frustrating is that the person just calls you on the phone, and we're just looking, find something, 500,000-600,000 Smyrna.
And email it to me.
Yeah. Well, once again, I mean, that could be, you have to kind of educate them about Smyrna. Well, you realize there's 3 elementary schools that are really good, or not really good, but better. So we want to make, those are things that you need to take time to map out, show them. We need to be in Teasley or King Springs or Nickajack, and we do not need to be in these other ones. And then
What is your thought about all of these leads that come from the Zillows and stuff like that? They typically tend to want to see your home the first time they see you or select you.
That's exactly true. And I'm okay with going to that home to gain trust.
Okay.
And then to say, we're kind of doing this backwards. Can we meet tomorrow and develop a plan of action?
Okay.
And that's the next one. If they don't make an appointment, they're not a real buyer.
That's true.
You know, once again, you're getting ready to spend the most money you've ever spent in your life. Why would you want to do this off the hip? Let's come up with a plan of action. And I think at the end of the day, most people will appreciate that. The other thing, and I'm out of them right now, I need to order some more. What did Brad give you all when you met with him?
A book.
A book, right? It was the MREA, Millionaire Real Estate book. And when he gave that to you, I mean, maybe there were some other brokers that you interviewed with that did that, but I'm going to guess probably not.
No, they told me it was $12. And I could get it after I passed my test.
So Gary Keller's got a one called the New Buyers. It's called a. I have to look at it.
The one thing?
No, it's called the First Time Home Buyers book.
It's for the consumer.
And it's kind of like the Dummy's Guide to Buying Real Estate. It's something that it's little. It's probably about half this size.
Right.
I want to say it's $11, but several times where I had people say, "Oh, we'd like to meet you, and we're interviewing other agents." And once again, that puts a little pressure on you. You got to do something. And I showed with that book, I got them.
Right.
I got them. You know, I'm giving them. This is yours. And I'll never forget, I had a client, they told me that, and I met them up in Brookhaven on Dresden and Verde, and we're looking at, we're going to be interviewing 3 agents. You're the first. So all of a sudden I was telling them about a home that I had just previewed Dunwoody, and I gave them that book, and when we left, they texted me and go, "Can we see this tomorrow?" I said, "Well, what about the other agents?" "We don't want them." You know?
Right, I'm not interviewing.
So, giving them something, because a lot of people worry about when you have your buyer's consultation and getting that buyer's broker's sign.
Right.
I'll tell you up front, I've never had one signed until we sit down and write a contract. Because what I do is I explain to people up front, I build my business off of loyalty and trust. And I give it, a lot of them will get that book. If you bought 2 or 3 homes, you don't need that book. But in 15 years, I've been burned one time. So it works. But here again, you guys are new in the business, and I will tell you that when you sit down and do your buyer's consultation, if your best friend referred this person to you, you're probably okay not signing the buyer's brokerage agreement that first meeting. You think about it. It's human nature. If someone shoved something into you and said, "Sign this," you would be, "Oh, hold on." And they're kind of that way. So I always like to say, let me take them out the first time, and then at the end of that, I may say, "Look, this, for me to continue to work on your behalf, we do need to enter into an agreement."
Right.
And I've never had one. No. But here again, the only people I ever try to do that to is people that I may pick up at an open house. On a scale of 1 to 10, with my mom giving me someone, that's a 10. This is a 2 or a 3. Because, like you say, they're the ones all of a sudden you call them and they don't return your phone calls or emails, and you're like, "Well, I lost that person." So, anyway, have your lender pre-qualify them before you meet. Now, sometimes that's not possible, but guess what? That becomes their homework.
Right.
And I always tell them, I want you to get pre-qualified with my team. When you go into contract, if you want to shop the rate around, I'll be glad to give you others, or if you have somebody that you know.
Yeah.
And I think people appreciate that. You hand them a card to that person, and I always say, look, you call this person, they're going to roll the red carpet out for you. Isn't that better than I walked in the Bank of America today and just went over to the person behind the glass and got pre-qualified.
Right.
And they don't know who I am today if I walked in. So, you need to explain that as part of that whole thing. Because there's nothing worse than people saying, no, we're looking at $500,000-600,000, then the lender's like, they're gonna be lucky to get $375 out of this. And then all of a sudden we've kinda gotta readjust expectations. And then you gotta explain your approach. Talk about how the process works. One of the things I'm very big on, as I explained, once we start looking at homes, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, when we go see a home, I'm going to open the door, and I'm going to get out of your way. You don't need me to tell you this is the kitchen. It just, but believe me, you'll be at an open house and some agent will come in with their client and they're following around like a little puppy dog. And I'll hear them say, oh, this is the kitchen. Like, come on, yeah.
The bathroom.
So I generally, if they go upstairs, I'll stay on the main floor, or I'll walk outside. I'm looking at things like how old the condensers are outside. I'll be looking at the siding. I'm looking up at the ceilings to make sure that there's no water stains and leaks up there. And then when they come back down, then I'll go up real quick and check out the upstairs. But I just try to stay out of the way, and I think people appreciate that. Once again, I've said this already 3 times, it's the most money they're ever spending. They need time together as a couple to talk about that. And it's not like they may not say something in front of you, but I want them to feel free about that. Now, you may have, let's say, a single divorced person who may say, yeah, Kim, could you walk with me? And that's fine. But at least you kind of told them why you do this.
Right.
And if they want to adjust, then you can adjust on that. Okay, so that's setting the tone. All right, let's see what we get. Let's work on here and see what. All right, so next thing, I'm sorry, I've skipped 2 things. So explain your approach, and then the last one is paint the picture. My favorite story on this is I had a client, she had just got divorced, sold her house, and they had a nice house. It was, sold for like $980,000, and she was coming down to $400,000. Her son was in Scouts, big into Scouts, and this, right outside the carport of this house, going into the kitchen door, was a nice deck, and it had a built-in round picnic table in the middle. And we walked down and I said, Lori, can you imagine the Cub Scout meetings right here at this table? And it had benches around the deck on the outside. The parents are sitting out there, the kids are in the middle, the lead. She's like, oh, you're right. And next thing you know, a day later, we were under contract. But those are things that you have to, once again, I took the things that I knew were important to her. She was looking for a house from our consultation, and I wanted to make sure I could visually relay that to her to help her make a decision. So I always try to paint a picture to people and remind them the things that they're going to tell you at that buyer's consultation. You got to almost, remember these things where you walk out and you say, hey Barry, look at this backyard, just like you said, fenced in, not too big, perfect grass back here. Things like that are very important to people. Alright, so when we fully engage the buyer, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get them started. And that's generally, when we leave the buyer's consultation, I'm giving them homework. And I'll say, my homework is to start an email drip for you. your homework is to start looking at these houses. Explain how the email drip's gonna work. You're gonna get an email, and it's gonna have a lot of houses on day one, and then after that, they'll come at, between 6 and 7 in the morning. You know, just be the new ones that are out there. I try to, that consultation, if they're, I ask them, I'll bring a calendar of the year, old school, not on my phone. Say, I want you guys to circle the date that's the most optimal date. If you could move, that's when you want to do it. Okay, if they circle August 30th, you think we're going out this weekend? No. But if they circle March 30th or probably even as high as April 15th, I want to leave there with a time to get out there with them and start looking at homes. Okay? We want to get them started. Next thing, as I say, we got to get them looking at homes, both online, which is never an issue, but then out there with them, riding around with them. Now let me say a couple things about riding around with people. When you, especially out of town buyers, when you've got people in your car and you're with them for 2 to 5 hours, you got to be on the whole time.
Right.
It's not like you can say, I'm kind of tired of talking to y'all, so between this house and the next house, can we just sit in silence? You can't do that. You've got to be able to carry the conversation and go. And there's a little acronym that I like to use that I always think back, okay, what have I haven't talked about? And it's FORD. F-O-R-D.
Okay.
I bet you somebody knows what that stands for.
Food. Nope.
Family, occupation, recreation,
Dog.
and dreams. And dog.
Let's see.
If you bring the conversation back to those 4 topics, you don't have to do a lot of talking. They'll talk for you during the time. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams.
Do you always drive your customers around, or do they also drive their?
Both. If we're meeting them after work, I'll meet them at a house, and if we're only going to see 1 or 2 houses. On the weekends, I like to meet them and get in my car.
Right.
If they have kids, though, then they're going to follow you. But
they are.
But it's good to have them in your car,
right?
So you can hear the conversation between them.
In the seaside.
Yeah. I'll never forget, I had a Suburban when I first got in the business, and I had a young couple. This guy was the basketball coach at UGA, and he had they just fired the coach, and he was living in Winder, but he wanted to find a house in Cumming. So him and his wife, I'm showing them around and everything. We're up and coming, looking, and I look back in the mirror. They are going at it, making out. I'm like, oh my God.
What coach was this?
Huh?
What coach was this?
It was under the guy that was at Western Kentucky.
His kids ended up going to Milton, playing basketball in Milton.
Huh?
His kids played basketball in Milton.
He didn't have any kids, this guy. He was an assistant coach. I'm trying to think of the coach, the African American coach at Georgia prior to Fox. Anyway, he got fired. He's at Western Kentucky, so he was assistant coach. And so, they were just unbelievably goo-goo gaga the whole time. Well, fast forward, we find a house, we go on a contract. I got his home in Winder under contract. I didn't think this whole thing was ever going to materialize. It all was ready to work out. It was on a Thursday. We're supposed to close that next Tuesday on both houses. He calls me up and says, I need you to get me out of both deals. We're getting a divorce.
What?
And I was like, I said, Bert, I just saw you, but you've been making out with your wife in the backseat of my car. Yeah, I know. You know, she's a nut. I can't deal with this.
What?
Well, believe it or not, the first agent, I had asked him to send an extension, and he didn't do it on time, so the first contract actually had run out. It was dead. And the second contract was contingent on them buying a home.
Okay.
So I was able to get out both contracts. He didn't lose a penny, and they did get divorced.
I forgot.
That hurts.
So it was a win-win.
Well,
Right.
I collected nothing out of it.
Yeah. That's
So.
like awful.
Hey, you here?
Hello, I am.
Okay.
Sorry, I have been doing the headshots.
Yeah. Anybody else doing headshots? This lady, I'm telling you, is fabulous. She can, I mean, really, she can make me look like a movie star. I always say I've got a radio face, not a TV face.
A radio face?
Yeah, radio face.
A radio face,
Radio
okay.
face. All right, so get them looking, and then the last thing is institute daily contact. Now, that's easy if they're on the email drip. But I would say at a minimum, you need to, I would talk to them 2 or 3 times a week, and that could be text, email, phone calls. But I mean, sending the one house thing, I tell you, is very effective. And as I mentioned before, it shows them they're on top of mind with you. Okay, and they're not in this by themselves. Sellers, I would say you institute weekly contact with them. All right, so we're now at the point where the people have now found a house, and you got to help your clients make a decision. So the first thing they're gonna, and you kind of know. Let's say we'd like to go back and see 1313 Mockingbird Lane. So now I know they're interested in that, and we spent 35 minutes in that home, and we didn't spend more than 10 minutes in any of the other homes. So at that point, you need to start proactively getting all the details for the home. So there's a bunch of things that you need to start gathering. Cynthia, tell me one. What would you gather for your clients that they're about to make an offer?
The comps.
Comps?
Yeah.
Comps for the neighborhood.
And the days on the market.
The disclosures is number 2.
Legal description.
If that's not it, a lot of times that's something like that is in the FMLS under documents.
HOA.
And they'll have the seller's property disclosure, the community association disclosure, which is the HOA. Those are things that are important. You don't want to go write a contract and find out, in Crooked Creek, and then they find out that it costs $2,700 a year for the community's fees, because they have a full-time, 24/7 guard at the gate.
Sorry, I'm processing what we're doing versus what we learned in classroom, where would this stuff for like 2 mile radius of the property, when does that information come into play? Like where you're having to research if something's
The
occurring?
comps, that's the comps.
Is that in with the comp?
Yeah.
Like if they're building some landfill down there?
Well.
You know what I'm saying? Because like they say that you have to go out a mile from any point on the property to see if anything's
Was
in
that-
the plan for the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
the licensing course.
That's the licensing class.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
right now.
15 years, I don't know if I've ever done something like that, but in that, how many people have taken the Matrix 101? Okay, I think in Matrix 102, if I'm not mistaken, they will show you how to go in and look at blocks of property that you can see who owns them. within
You
a.
can go to Remund and do that
Within a
also.
rate, wouldn't it?
Remund does it better than FMLS.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay. But, you know, that's a good point. I'm just trying to think if I've ever been in a situation where they were worried about.
I'm not necessarily saying worried, but like if it's in like the plan to like totally gut out the elementary school that their kids would be going to in the
Sure.
next year. Like that type of information, is this where you would?
That would help.
Yes, sir.
Any
Yeah.
information you give them that's not on the sheet would help.
Okay.
But at the bare minimum, the comps, the disclosures are the key things that you need to get them for.
Okay.
And then at some point, you know, they go back and see that home. They spent 35 minutes. They want to go back to that home, and you're at that home. You're just going to show it to them and say, okay, well, you know, let's pick another time. No, you want to ask them, is this something you want to move forward with? Do you see yourself being in this home? Is this something you want to move forward with? And they may put you off and say, we want to talk about it tonight. That's fine. But you need to ask them to buy. And I think, you know, you don't want to be blunt and just say, hey, you want this home? You've got to ask them, do you want to move, is this something you want to move forward with?
Kevin, in your experience, from a percentage perspective, when and I'll use couple generically, but when a couple puts an offer on a house, what percentage of the time are they emotionally involved in that decision?
Wow.
Well, I would hope that it's...
Well, no, I didn't say hope, from your experience.
No, I'm just trying to, versus trying to make a business decision.
No, just, are they really emotionally involved? We want this house or sitting on the front of the chair, or as opposed to, let's put an offer on that house.
No, I would say that 90% of the time they're going to be emotionally involved.
Okay.
And I tell them up front, I want you at a 9 or a 10 before let's make an offer.
Because it could be accepted by dark
That's right.
tonight.
And you
It
could
could
be-
be accepted.
You
just
could
bought a
be
house.
wasting your time with an inspection if you don't really want it. If you're settling, well, this is the best one we've seen. You know, I guess we'll get this one.
Yeah.
You know, if they start feeling the pressure and so forth. I had a couple, we looked for 6 months, and they finally, their landlord said, you gotta be out by the end of January. And I still feel like they settled. Because we saw a lot better houses than what they end up buying. Now, they're happy at it. I go by and visit them all the time, over in Tucker, but I just felt like, they passed on so many that were so much better than this. But as I said, they seem happy. But yeah, you want them to be excited about that house. A 9 or a 10 is what I tell them. And then always, you know, you've got to ask for referrals during the whole. You know, I mentioned that earlier. But we will live and die by referrals. All right, so I think the lunch is going to be ready for us here. So why don't we?
Having breakfast.
Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and take a break right here, and we'll resume back at 12:45. And then if you haven't finished eating, then we'll continue to eat. And
where's lunch at in the
I thought they were going to bring it in here. I don't know.
She said 12:30, so they're
Yeah, we're 5 minutes away, so I'm going to give you an extra 5 minutes.
Kevin, I'm on medicine.
You got to do it.
Listen, I just want you to know I feel like I'm that student in class that the teacher's like.
Don't worry. Don't do that.
I hear everything.
Good hookup, you're not.
I will be teaching.
Yeah.
So I'm taking
combine and go see the person.
I hear him, but I can't move. But that's not.
I always should put it as an exhibit.
But,
You mean, so generally what I'll do is, they don't care about that, the buyer.
Definitely.
They care about comps, they care about disclosures. What the, but I'll ask my attorney to send me the legal description of the address. And I don't really share that with them, they don't care about that.
So you need a team.
The thing is, we need always remind that sometimes the number of tax IDs is wrong. So how do you identify legally of this?
Well, if I put that as an exhibit, then it's up to the law to do a title search and figure out if that's right.
To make sure that they're gonna do what they need to do.
Right.
Because what ends up happening.
I was told that supposed to make offer
And
with
it's not lined up with what you wanted, but it's still moving.
attached to the legal
And it's easy for them to kind of take over the situation, like hijack it.
No, that's what I'm saying. I agree with you.
You're kind of like, this is my
And
stuff. What
actually,
are you doing?
if you present a buyer buying a home is under the
It happens
contract with the
They're
KO,
all over the city.
so
And some of them are really good.
what kind of offer I should make?
Aggressive.
I want it.
Aggressive
I work
offer
with
is
you,
another
but
file,
it needs to be
different,
come through me. You know what I mean?
purchase and sales.
No, I mean, it's the purchase and sell agreement, but there's a
Make
exhibit.
sure it comes through y'all, cause that's the problem. They always
It's
try
called
to
the
hijack.
backup exhibit.
You come in and say.
Oh, that's, I
Right.
would consider as a back.
Well, you're presenting it as a backup,
But not right.
but then it could be moved in the first
Okay, what
position.
is-
Remember, they notify you
They're like, oh, we already talked about
that
it.
you are now in first position.
Pictures up and you're like,
Because
oh,
there's-
nah, I feel like I have to.
Buyer number one's given 48 to
Because the
72 hours,
process
I
is
can't
still
remember which one it is.
Oh, we already.
They have to remove all the
I'm working,
pictures.
I quit working.
So during that 40 to 72, you're gonna be in the number two position, if you're
The bus
accepted.
driver. So before it's done,
Right.
it's gone.
I have some investors,
To the radio.
their budget is
I'm like, what are you doing?
300,
I want to change the part. He's like, well, I just want to see what people are gonna say, and it's gone.
They don't
and now it's
care what
being
kind
played,
of
you
a house
know,
or
and I'm
condo
like,
or townhome and
What did
which
you tell my
area is
name
the
is?
best
You know,
return.
my friend Keith. Like, no.
Which area is the best return?
Oh, I forgot to do that.
300,000?
I'm not straight up
I'd say right now, Smyrna
And then
Valley.
on Wednesday, he called me, he's like, oh, some people want to interview her.
Oh,
no, you're fine. I promise.
No,
it's just, but we're on the contract, so I copyright it. So you can't do it without me, but he's doing it anyway. It's not good representation.
But it's had a
It's not
tremendous
of me.
appreciation over there since they built the Braves Stadium.
Ah, okay. That's the reason why New Smyrna those schools are so hot.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
I mean,
Good. I mean,
you
it's
can get
super
something decent.
cold on, rainy on Saturday.
The only other place I would look at would,
But at least every night we
also
can go.
They're not hard to me.
provide a decent appreciation of Tucker. Yeah.
I'm not here, but I can,
Yeah.
I need to think about it, but
5300.
if you get like online.
I need to make that public.
They'll be.
Yeah, I saw the Tucker, I mean, the condition
Right
was
now,
not much
they can
better.
fit at least 6 people.
I mean, like,
The thing
like
is,
at least
that was
2,000
easy
dollars.
to
I would go like extra.
So if you got 6
Well, it's pretty centrally located.
They can split their,
You know, so you get a higher rent over at Smyrna Valley.
It's just
so I have
about
4 bedrooms,
making sure you do
2 full
the network.
bathrooms.
Is that what- is that their, business plan for lease now?
Yes.
Cause a lot of times it's more, and it's.
No, they're.
Hold on.
Yeah.
As far as appreciation,
Girl, and guess what, I got my sheets
Smyrna's
and
gonna get
boom,
you higher
we don't have
rate
it
and a little bit
washer
better.
dryer, but most people don't do
Tucker's
that with
gonna be just a little bit.
I wonder if we, can we do a,
We're gonna put a,
can we get
a
some
TV in there, with a table in there, a Wi-Fi, hot coffee in there.
Cause I'm over iPhone, I'm tired of waiting. But I broke it 20 times, like for real. Like, I done literally, I bought a cake and
So it's only like a 5-minute drive from
all my guy friends got on an early basis. Like, me too, but it's been doctored up.
MLK on 20, Northside Drive.
No, but that's the only difference. We
Yeah,
all
I know, I'm just driving back from that in the car.
I'm always asking, like, girl, you look cute, what you doing? Are you a model? How you getting your?
It's not there, but it's 5 minutes
People like to rock
from.
about themselves and they do their hair and it's like,
In Lawrenceville.
my agency, his name is
Yeah.
Papa. And then if it's in English, it's not a
Thank you.
so you end up
We might want to try to look at seeing what we can get for those. Because it is about your
information.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm thinking based off her person.
Well, like some problems.
Okay.
I mean, they gonna do it.
And we told them pack
So
up.
I'm up. Remember, I got to
have
have
a
a
Super Bowl party where they can.
get their balance.
So they have options.
And guys, like, they have to throw
I
all
said,
the
look, thank you.
Because I looked at the share button, and wasn't there.
I thought it was stolen.
I lost
It
some.
just didn't open it properly.
This is really good. I didn't know you did this. I
It was
nice
just my fire expenses, there's a new, construction, it's very nice.
Mm-hmm. And for TV, that's what you like. For me, I send like a clip of my music.
Nice.
For models, they send pictures.
And
For
I
you
was
would
new,
send
I have
the little snippets, like more than a minute.
exactly in today's problem.
A good minute.
So that all the.
30 seconds
What's
to
your
the
ID? Someone there, I do that.
underscore
During the night, the parking lot might have the very strong
Mm-hmm.
sign.
You know, you got something coming in. I don't get on there as much anymore, so I'm looking for something to do. And then I be like, oh, see what they put out there. You know, the ads.
Yeah, I did a dot loop yesterday, actually, Kevin.
And when the bell lines happen.
You did?
Yeah. Because I wasn't sure where the client's, head was in terms of making an offer or whatever it is, so I just actually completely wanted to just send that out, but
All right.
working with her for probably.
This is different than the other person?
No, the one,
Oh, okay,
we met with yesterday.
okay.
But to your point, I mean, I didn't have
Whatever, it works.
a
I'm not changing my name.
I guess a buyer's agreement in place.
Don't tell them.
Still showing.
I just been hashtagging, but.
Well, yeah, you know it's solid. So it's
I just wanna say-
versus if you pick someone over that open house. you did.
Exactly.
I'm lame.
Um,
Well, like my homeboy, what's his name?
From,
This a good, this a good dude to follow. He doing really good.
Yeah, so
This
it's
is
funny, you
down
talked
on
about
the
like
A,
constituents,
Regulate.
so, she wanted to check with her father, her
I
brother,
still work.
and then talk with her kids to
It's
make
good,
sure everybody's like
it's
all on board.
The validator.
Yeah, exactly.
okay. But they do consultations for
so.
artists. But I've seen them working with actors lately too.
We're gonna get back together at Quarter Hills, or probably not.
how did you
Well,
why or?
We're gonna figure out where our bill is?
Yeah.
What? Money, underscore, Y,
That's what I thought.
R-A.
Y-I-R-A. There we go.
I accidentally deleted my old picture and I had to put a picture up there real quick because I had a picture of a bottle of water. Cause this phone was updated and I was trying to click around, play with it a little bit, see what they did typing. And I ended up, while I was trying to add to my story, I was trying to add to my story, but I ended up changing my picture to a bottle of water. And then I woke up the next day and was like, wait, what? My best friend called me and was like, I can't find you on Instagram. I'm like, I'm on there. She was like, it's a bottle of water on here. I was like, can't get off. Oh no, could somebody laugh? It's about that time to post it in, huh? Tia, can you find people by their cell phone number? You can find people on IG by their cell phone number.
Well, sometimes they'll
Hi, I was
It's
calling.
I just found yours.
That's you by contact. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, what is that, Lord?
Yeah.
Moulton, yeah.
Like, you can put somebody class number in.
I was like, I was like,
Right. What you said as far as the people in your office, you don't know when they'll be there. But when they get available.
Alright, so lunch is running a little late.
Janae, I was just calling to make sure that you received our contract for School of the Intel School Road. When you get a chance, can you call me back at 404-859-5703? Thank you and have a great day.
I have to connect my phone Wi-Fi first, and the senior process is from 1 state to 200. This is
So really, just 169 to 190, so I figured out, why is that 190? Why is that 169.9? Oh my God.
That's been on market for 2 months. And it's really quite senior, that's the department.
What was the condition? Is it, a lot of times it's how high it is. 33rd, that's high.
Higher it is,
The higher it is, the more it should be. So like this one for 169, what floor is that?
Nice.
Thank
34.
you.
Wow. Huh. Well, I never-
Otherwise, I have to.
Well, you look at what's active, and looks like 185 to 190 is your target range.
Tiring.
Yeah.
That's why I don't go out a lot, because I like socializing, but I don't like getting ready for it. Once I get over the hump of getting ready, I go out.
Who's your water with out there?
Water?
Yeah.
I mean,
Who's your provider?
we pay our, I don't have bills, but I think it's Alpharetta, water.
Text your wife, it's fine. I got that listing, I got that, in Seven Oaks,
Yeah.
which is still 30005.
Yeah, that's not, very far from, that's like, I don't know, like 3-4 miles from my house.
The questions on the listing details though. Some of them I feel like, how do I know this? My sellers don't know it. Nobody knows.
On the disclosures?
Like when you go to enter it in the FMLS. Oh my gosh.
Like what?
Like I had, like they were asking, what type of shingle, like roof, like a composition or whatever. They knew they had a roof replaced like a couple of years ago.
Oh, well, that's more important, but generally they're all composition.
Mhm.
But, you know, there's a thing in FMLS that says this information is deemed to be
As accurate as possible.
it's accurate but not always reliable.
Right.
But that's why it's a buyer beware state.
Yeah, I mean, and then the elementary, like this listing is a rental property, and they're offloading it, and they didn't know whether like school buses, like lines were gonna get there.
You just put yes on all that.
Actually, the FMLS it tells you which school, if it's on the school bus line. There's a checkbox in the I don't know about the Georgia MLS, but the FMLS, there's actually a checkbox.
It's already checked, or you have to fill it out when you put
Are
the
you talking
listing
about
out?
listing or?
Yeah, listing.
You have to check.
You have to.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So I had
Yeah.
to find out.
Actually, I think you can go to the, what county are you talking about?
Gwinnett.
So I think you can go to Gwinnett County, school system,
Right.
and there's actually a map, and it shows you what bus route number and the whole 9 yards.
But the thing I do is I will go to an old FMLS listing and print that out.
Go to the neighbors.
And just cheat.
And just cheat and copy. Yeah, that's a good idea. I haven't thought of that.
And if you can't find one close by, go to the sold listings.
Right, right.
Because it kind of doesn't matter.
That's true. Okay. No, I just like, and they didn't know. I texted them like.
And I never have people fill out those sheets.
Oh, really?
Well, once you get the pictures from the house,
Right, right.
then you can just, I always like to see, is that a double vanity? Oh, let me go to the bathroom and look. Oh, yeah, it is.
Right, right.
Is that tub and shower or just shower? You know, the pictures of your.
That's how I do them when I have to do them for Claxton John. I look at the pictures.
Yeah. Is it gas or electric? Oh, yeah, there's the gas runs. I mean, there's only a handful of things that you could stump you, but yeah.
Right.
And I just put yes all the time on the bus route.
Right. I mean, they're like in unincorporated. Like, I'm like, just my luck. So it might not be serviced by the bus.
All right.
You know? Yeah. I stayed up last night, like.
And we all went around and told each other
Hi,
about
Stacy.
ourselves. Tell me about you.
My name is Erin Smith. I worked for Delta Airlines until last April, in engineering and technical operations. And I got my real estate license in 2014, and I sold a house, and then realized I'd taken on way too much with my full-time job, and I just had a son in 2013, in August. So I kind of just put it to the side for a little bit, and when I decided to leave Delta Airlines full-time, I decided to come back and get into this. I worked with Metro Brokers before when I was, when I did real estate for just a little while.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to stay on time here, and then if the pizza comes, we'll just kind of take a couple minutes.
Pizza?
I think it is.
I love pizza.
Costco pizza.
I love everything, but pizza?
We'll just take a couple minutes to get a piece and come back to our seats, because I want you out here at 2, so the people who are bringing the pizza can start. All right, let's see here. I used to do a live buyer's presentation, and I found that it's better for me to hand this to you and kind of talk you through it.
Don't forget me.
No.
She's hiding. I'm putting this up. I was watching.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, so come up with a time, find a meeting place, and now you've got to create the buyer's consultation. I tell them I don't like to use buyer's consultation. It sounds too formal. I tell them I like to have a listening meeting where I listen to your needs. And I tell them up front, I'm going to be writing a lot of stuff down, asking you questions, but I want you to talk. And I think they like that, knowing that they're kind of the focus of the whole time. So, I've already covered CETO. Come into the office. Everybody knows what that means now. That will be on the quiz. Meet them and then tell them a little bit about you. Once again, you don't have to tell them that you just started in real estate. That's up to you. They may know that, but let's say you meet them at an open house. They don't know if you've been in real estate 3 years, 3 months. So, but you can still tell them what you did prior to getting into real estate, and so forth and so on. And then find out how they, if it's a couple, how did they meet? What's their story? How long they've been married? If it's a single person, you still want to kind of find out what their career goals are, what's important to them on the, find out as much as you can about that person, and you can use your Ford right there at that point, and ask them. Find out their motivation, how eager they are to buy or sell. I remember I told you the calendar thing I like to do. Oh, there it is. Howdy.
Hey.
One for each of us.
You have any paper plates for us?
You gotta go get my box.
Man, I'm gonna let you set it up when you tell us when you're ready for it.
Okay.
Cut in the back.
And then I'll start asking them a little bit about the house. What does this house look like? And sometimes they'll stutter on that question, and I'll say, well, is it a ranch?
Meaning their dream house.
The house we're going to look for.
Okay.
Maybe not necessarily their dream house.
Okay.
Is it a ranch? Is it 2-story? Is it split level? Could it be any of the above? Is it a townhome? Is it a condo? We're going to set that up right at that point, the style of house. Then we start talking about the inside. How many bedrooms are the minimum that we need to buy? It kills me when people say, I need a minimum of, they're looking for a house, not a townhome. And they say, well, it's got to have 2 bedrooms. Well, every
they have at least 2 bedrooms.
Every house has 2 bedrooms, unless it was built in the 1940s, maybe. And then you got to kind of walk them through things like, are you open to a fixer-upper? How important is it to be turnkey, where you just walk in and it's completely done? See, that's going to dictate, if they're saying 250 to 300 and all of a sudden they want a turnkey home, well, we're going to be closer to 300 maybe. Where fixer-upper could be any of those in that range anywhere. You want to find out about a basement. What's inside the home, the basement. Is that important to you? Most of the time they never even thought about it till you ask them that question. But the key thing is we're trying to find out what the absolutes are. If they say, I gotta have 4 bedrooms, well then we're not gonna ever look at a 3-bedroom house. If they have to have a garage, not a carport, then we need to make sure that we don't waste our time looking at carports. If they're looking, a lot of people when they get to my age, they want master on main. They don't wanna deal with stairs, you know, this has gotta be a master-owned bank. So these are the things that you're trying to, when you talk about the inside of the home, that's what you're talking about. Alright, so why don't we go ahead and get a slice or two of pizza. Matt, you wanna tell us what, give a commercial for what's gonna happen at 2 o'clock?
You wanna time me at 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Hey guys, first of all, welcome. My name is Matt Lipp with Certainty Home Loans. We're the in-house preferred lender for this office. Share a wall with Brad, unfortunately. Directly after Kevin's teaching, which definitely pay attention to Kevin because he knows definitely what he's doing. We'll be teaching a Mortgage 101 class. It'll take about an hour. Just the basics of how we work together as far as agents and lenders go, some basics of financing, enough to make you dangerous so you can speak to your clients, but not, we don't want to make you loan officers. We have enough competition as it is. So, but it's a really informative class, especially for new agents that might not know the ins and outs of the mortgage process and how much communication there is back and forth. Definitely recommend hanging out and attending that. I got 1 cheese, 2 pepperoni, and I don't want to take any home, so eat up, and hope everybody can stick around for I think it's 2:15? 2:15?
I'm gonna be through by 2, so.
Sounds good.
Give him a break.
Nice to meet you, Matt.
Alright.
Thank you.
She's not shy.
She was looking for lunch at 11.
We're gonna have time together.
Fulton County Water.
Fulton County?
I'm glad no one's vegan.
You saw her shit.
Every time I wear one of my flowy shirts, I get grief on them. I've worn like 4.
When you be doing not apartment but hotel, I'm just like, why you wanna go way out? You could just be right.
I call them the flowy shirts. I don't know what they're called. I was calling them balloons, but my best friend got married. How you wearing?
My best friend sent me some of the listings that she
No,
showed
she
me.
said, I think she thought I said they were big, but they're loose.
Yeah, I wear Spinnaker.
You probably don't know what a spinnaker is.
No, but I might get some. Be a boss in the class.
Most of it's $9.50.
So how was the photo thing?
Good. She's really great.
What? How much was she? Girl, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I really just forgot all of it. What's her price?
If you were charging,
She got them. 150. I'm good all that. Look at me. No.
So you pick one photo. She retouches it. She's wonderful. Do whatever you want her to. Make me sliggles, give you green eyes if you want.
Those are the prices.
Yeah, make me fun with my green eyes. She can give me some like line highlights in my picture.
I'm sure. For real? I mean, I don't want to like set her up for this.
Girl, no, I think I got it.
They're Uber drivers. And like here, there's the fun. She's nice.
Because you can take an Uber for $55.
Not take long to take pictures.
I'm editing like TikTok.
Well, she edits my prices if anybody asks.
You can help her. You know, like say,
Used to see you, and she doesn't see me, say, hungry.
so you pick, she'll help you pick. Very much better. She'll help you pick one. And then,
Good, she's in the house you like?
she gives you, you know, the shot and then a crop shot where you know, lift her up. She'll give you a high res and low res. Do 4 photos.
Of the same pose. Touch up.
Orlando said you walk in the floor.
I'm pretty sure.
Just put in an application and just
I was trying to figure out.
First, I'll look at another place.
Well, I wanted to eat it, but I just started like after eating like horrible for last
Videographer.
through the holidays.
Hey, somebody got to buy those high cameras.
All right, Monday I'm gonna start.
starting up, it was no joke.
Girl, say it again.
I
I'm probably not gonna even mention I sold a house until I sell like my third one.
I want to
People
throw down,
already think
I walk
that I
back
got
to
the
the
license.
see someone.
That
Alright.
is I'm like, no, we're not rich.
All right, well, we'll keep going on this here. Find out about their pets. I've literally have sold homes where I finally asked the person, are you buying this for yourselves or for the pet? I mean, it's unbelievable sometimes how important their pets are to them, which is fine. You know, but figure that out up front so you're not showing them homes that, I mean, they want to see fenced-in backyards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a question on FMLS, that's private fenced in on there. This question can change a lot. Where is this house located? They may have an idea. Well, we want to be in Sandy Springs or Dunwoody. What's your budget? $300,000. Okay, well, I can show you condos and townhomes.
Yeah, what about?
But that's it. Well, we want to detach some. I said, well, then we've got to pull that out, or someone's got to give you a lot of money.
Okay.
So you're determining, and I like to leave there with 1 to 3 areas, no more than 3 about. I met a guy yesterday, new construction. He wanted an East Cobb, but his budget was $600,000. And he said, or 2015. Well, I hit 600,000. Guess how many's out there? The null set, 0.
Yep.
Now, luckily, he was open to Roswell, Alpharetta. There was some stuff in there. But, I think he also has he can get a gift from his parents. So he may end up having to go $700,000 on the whole thing. All right. What do they like to do when they get home? Let's say they like to go ride horses. They love to ride horses. They like kayaking on the upper hooch. Things like that then can determine. And I'll tell you where the most logical thing on this is the people who want to be close to Lake Lanier. They got a boat. I want to be 20 minutes from my boat. Alright, well, we'll start looking at Buford, Flowery Branch, Huston, and Gainesville. North Gwinnett at the lowest. So find out about the recreation factor.
Okay, thanks.
Alright, now this is my favorite thing to do with a couple. I get a piece of paper, pull out my notebook, and I tear it in half. I give the husband one, the wife one. I say, okay, you guys ever seen the game, Match Game, that's on TV with Alec Baldwin's now hosting? You guys are going to fill in the blank here. I do not want you to fill in the blank the way you want your wife to fill it in. We're not actually trying to match. We might match, though. All right, here's your question. I know you now got a pen. They're kind of excited. When I walk into a home to view, the biggest wow factor I'm looking for is blank. All right, so they write that down, and then I'll say, once they've written the answer down, I say, okay, now let's share our answers. And what do you think the wife's going to say?
Kitchen.
Really, kitchen? Bathroom.
The two biggest answers are kitchen, open floor plan. Okay? What do you think the guys are saying? Man cave or the backyard or the deck, Huh?
Garage.
Garage occasionally. You know, if they can imagine all their tools out there.
Convenient for man cave.
So.
That was extra part.
Mhm.
Kitchen.
But
Then you have a Joshua.
those answers, I try to really remember those answers. So when we're out looking, and we find a house that has a great kitchen, has a killer basement, you can say this, hey, this hits both of y'all's wow factors. You know. All right, financing. You guys are getting ready to meet with Matt on this, and this is something I get involved in, and then I get out of the way. Because I tell him, I said, look, I don't need to know how much money you make. I don't need to know how much debt you got. That's between you and your loan officer. What I do need is I'm going to need a figure to go off of. But let me ask you a few questions. How much money have you saved up to put down? What percentage? And
When you say percentage, what do you mean?
well, a lot of them will say, I want to put 20% down. I want to put 10% down. And they may not know. They may just say, oh, I got 50,000 ready to go. I don't want to pay PMI. Okay, well, that's 20%, therefore, you're only going, that's a $250,000 house. Some may say, oh, when I sell my home, this is how much equity that I'll get in the check at closing, and I'm going to use that to get into the new home. So sometimes you need to find out kind of how much what that check could be for. Then you kind of, I may explain to them, well, they may say, well, I only got like 10,000 saved up, and I was like, well, we may have to go FHA, we may have to go 3%, but you're kind of just giving them a snapshot to tell them, you know, once you talk to my lender partner, you will, we'll know a lot more at that point. But I will talk a little bit about at a closing cost. That you don't really need to pay for anything prior to closing except for two things. What are they, Cynthia? Inspection's one.
Survey.
Not a survey. That's optional.
Still, we want to know what you're buying, right?
I would highly suggest it, but once again, a lot of people with the internet don't want to spend the money on that, but you have to spend the money on this.
Earnest money?
Appraisal.
Oh, appraisal.
So both of them are going to run you $400 to $450. I would also highly suggest in today's world, everyone's, especially in Georgia, that you would probably recommend a radon test. Once again, it's your job to explain to them this will be an additional $175, maybe $195 depending on who you use. But it's a small price to pay. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. So,
Also, termites.
well, once again, that's kind of like the survey. They're not required to do that, unless they're buying a VA loan, unless they're using a VA loan. And then, if they want to do a separate termite inspection, that's up to them. A lot of times, an inspector, he may see some areas, but that's not an official termite inspection. If the house is under a bond, does everybody know what that is? A termite bond, kind of like an insurance policy. Then you're generally okay without having a termite inspection. Okay. Talk a little bit about your role. And I always let them know up front, I cost you nothing. The seller will be paying for my commission. There's a place on the buyer's brokerage agreement, don't fall for this trick, and it says that I think you have to fill in 3%, but then it says if the property commission is less than 3%, the buyer will or will not make up the difference. Something like that. You know, why penalize the buyer? You know, it wasn't their intent to pick something out that was only 2.5%. You know, so why would you want to penalize the buyer by making them pay you the difference?
Why would a buyer sign it?
Well, I've gained a couple of clients in my lifetime from an agent insisting on them signing it that way.
Really?
And just scared them off. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. Then at some point, you can even if you don't have them sign it, you can introduce the BB&A.
Right.
To Mr. and Mrs. Jones, to make our relationship formal at some point, we will need to sign a buyer's brokerage agreement. This will allow me to act on your behalf. Once again, if the referral's a 9 or a 10, that came from your best friend, your mom, one of your best friends is buying, well then, maybe not as crucial to sign it right from the get-go. But if it's someone you pick up at an open house, someone who just calls you off of a sign, then I would suggest probably getting that sign after the first time, or like you said, the Zillow person, that you go meet them at the property, and then you say, well, this doesn't work out, would you like me to continue working with you on your behalf? It costs you nothing. You explain to them the benefits and so forth. You want to introduce this KW app right there, where they can, you know, so up until now, like in the fall, the KW app, all it would do would be, and you know, there's two apps. We're going to have an app for us that'll help with our transactions.
That's the green one.
Right, and then we'll have the app for the client that will, so you're rolling through a neighborhood, you see a property, you can put it in there real quick and it'll give you all the details on it. Well, tell me what else is it going to do?
Well, if you turn on your GPS, then when you go into a neighborhood and you open the app, it'll say, hey, that house right there is listed for $750,000 and it's got a swimming pool and 3 dogs.
That's cool.
So, but what you do is you text that to your prospect or to your client or whatever we call it, and then they load it on their phone. So now, tomorrow, when you're at band practice, right, or one of the parties, and they're riding around, then when they go to a particular house or they look up something, it tracks it on that app and it sends an email back to you and says, hey, Monica's looking at this house and that house and this house. Or if Monica says, ooh, I like that house and I like that house, and then she forwards it to her mother, girlfriend, father, whatever, boom, then now you're looking at it and you're going, we got some interest over here. Or you gave the app to one of your friends 6 months ago, and all of a sudden they start using it. You go,
so it's tracking it?
Oh, yeah.
So really, when I forward it to them, we just link our phones? Or we link the network?
When you forward it to her, right, if you got it on your phone now, the red app, all right, if you look in the middle, there's like 6 little icons in the bottom middle. It says something like forward or send to a friend or whatever. When you hit that button and you put in you text it to your friend, as soon as they load the app, then it's tracking them.
We're not going to see it in the red app, though. We're going to see it in the Kelly one.
You'll see it in. Well, I can't answer that one at this point.
All this is new.
You can see everything in Command. I mean,
okay.
It's going to solve all the world's problems.
That's what technologists say, and then you're 6 months in working with them to get it fixed.
Correct.
Yeah, the people who embrace it, it will work great for you.
Yeah.
The old school people,
correct,
will probably just do it the old school way.
You get an old guy like him or me, no apps on my phone, because everything that's on your phone tracks you. Everything.
I like, since we got here, they've had me down to like 6. Tracking mileage, I mean, everything you could think of.
Well, what is that?
That's horrible. This is
Yeah.
probably something that the painters are trying to get something out of.
Or
Oh, they're,
cleaning the
I think they're
windows.
bleeding the fire system or something, that's water.
All right, open hoses. In new construction, open houses in new construction. Remember, it is critical for you to go over this at this buyer's consultation. First of all, encourage them to go out and look. You want them out there looking at stuff, but hand them at least 4 or 5 business cards and say, look, when you walk in an open house, the first question they're going to ask, are you working with agents?
Yeah.
You know, and that way you can say yes, who, and you can hand them my card.
Do you find that people actually take your cards with them?
Yeah, I don't know if they're handing them out, they claim it.
Right.
But I think they tell the agent that stuff. And then new construction, same thing, on-site agent, you want to register at these places, make sure you go over that with them.
Isn't it pretty common that in new house construction, that the builder doesn't even put the houses in the MLS, so they don't have to pay MLS for that transaction?
They will only put enough to get you into the subdivision. So yeah.
So they put like one house?
They may put like a couple spec homes in there, but
They may
they're
never
not
sell
gonna-
those ones.
yeah, they're not gonna put all the lots in there at all.
Yeah.
I did an open house this weekend, and it was like this new construction, but one person bought a house and ended up not wanting to move in.
That wasn't John Ellis's, was it?
Yes, that was John
Right.
Ellis's. And then so he put it on an open house, so in that case, that was a house that was already bought by somebody who was reselling it. But the complex itself wasn't finished.
Right. Did you have a good turnout?
Nah, it was dead.
That's what I figured.
There were like 4 people that walked in, all working with agents, and they were all oblique from going to the sales center.
Right.
So that's what they got with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's, a lot of times, people want new construction, don't want to build from the dirt up.
Exactly.
Yeah, they want to build from, something's already built, but it's brand new and everything. And then the final thing on your consultation is you're giving them homework for you and for them. Tom, you and Mary, here's my preferred lender's card. Please call them in the next 48 hours. It's very simple. Everything's online now. I mean,
right.
Do you want
takes
them to
5
call
minutes.
the lender, or do you tell the lender to call them?
Well, you can determine that. You can ask that question.
Because you know good and well a lender's going to call them.
Exactly. But I generally will send an email out and saying, hey, I just met with so-and-so, look for a phone call from them. And then they're generally quick to say, I hadn't heard from your buddy yet.
Well,
Here's his
I
number.
guess you could copy them on the email and they could see the CC.
Right.
And,
And then your homework is to set up a email drip. We're going to do that right now. So if you have a laptop, go ahead and get it out.
Or 2.
and turn to go to FMLS.
So, Kevin, a couple things on there. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, but, or if you cover them in different parts, but I'd probably ask commute time in schools.
That's a great one I need to add on here, is schools, is to find out how important schools are. And if there's any specific schools, I'm going to go ahead and just add that. And then commute times. Two great things to add to that. Commute times and schools. But yeah, those are very critical.
Bless you.
All right, let's see if I can. All right, I'm going to walk you through this from the get-go. All right, so everybody log into FMLS. Alright, everybody right here?
Yep.
Alright, we're going to products, matrix. Go into matrix. Alright, so you just met with these people. You go now to put them in there. This gives you a snapshot. So look over here, my recent portal visitors. Here are my current clients. This is how, when they have logged in the last time. Okay? 2 people today. Sometimes there's nothing for them to log into. Alright, so I'm adding a person. So now I'm going to go to my matrix. And I'm going to go to contacts. Okay? I'm going to add. And we'll make up somebody here. Alright. Jamie Morrison. And we'll make up an email for him. James Morrison at Yahoo.com. Alright, so he's in the system now. Okay? He's in my now active contacts. So now I'm gonna go back and let's put in his criteria that we just met on. Alright, he's looking minimum of 500, max of 600. He wants to be in Dunwoody, but he only wants to be in Austin or Vanderlyn. So I'm going for the elementary schools.
How did you get back there? After you saved the contact, how did you get back?
After I saved it, then I went to search.
Search.
Okay, home, then search residential.
Okay.
But did you have their name checked?
No, he was just showing you that he didn't have a contact in the system to start with.
Okay.
If you already had a contact in there, then you would have skipped the first part that
Right.
you just did.
Got it.
Alright, so I'm putting in 5 to 600. I'm not putting in the area because it's, like Bob just said, it's fueled by schools. So they want to be in Austin or Vanderlyn Elementary School. So these are only the DeKalb schools. If I had not put that in there, it would have given me every elementary school in Atlanta.
Oh, an entire state.
So I had Austin, I had Vanderlyn, and I hit OK. Now we don't really care about the ones that are under contract, so we're just going to look at the active ones. Alright, there's only 5 down there. Let's look and see. And here they are, right here. Alright, so I go back, and I've got them all checked over here. Make sure you check all, which is right there, check all. Alright, everybody, this is the key part right here. You're now going to save it. See where my little guy is? Alright, and now it gives me this new thing where I have to choose. I want to start a new ITO email. Alright, now I gotta go back and find, this is why I put him in there, let me find Jamie Morrison. There he is. Subject. Dunwoody Homes. Okay. Do I want to get a copy every morning of these? I like getting them. So it's already checked for me. Okay?
But if you wanted to send it to his wife also, what would you do?
Right there. You put her address. Good point, Pete. You generally want both of them in there. You don't have to add both of them as a contact, just the main person.
So once you get the houses, you go to where it says email at the bottom in the green. I got the searches up.
New auto.
check all, and then hit save.
I hit save, okay.
And you should
And then
take
new auto email.
new auto email.
Okay,
And it should take you to this screen right here. Alright. See this signature right here? This is your chance to add your style. I'm a casual person, I'm not a formal person. So I like this font called Comic Sans. Okay? It's just clear, it's easy to read, you're not, something scripty. I've never liked that. And this, I can decide, they can get, right here, I can make a decision where they get an email, like if there's 4 homes listed in a day, as soon as it's listed, it sends them an email immediately, or just daily, in the mornings, AM, right here, they're gonna be sent. And then I hit save.
So what's the difference between reoccurring and welcome?
Alright, so it's gonna send them a letter,
Mhm.
And then it'll send you a copy. And that's the initial letter.
Right.
For the system to work, they have to go in that letter, and you may have set one up for Dunwoody, Milton, Roswell, 3 searches.
Mhm.
They have to go into each one of them, and then they'll start sending the emails. If they decide not to go in Roswell, but they're going into the other 2, they'll never get the Roswell emails until they go into that portal. Okay? Let's see what a portal looks like. See if I can do this. So let's look here at the Hamp. Here, this is kind of her portal right here. This tells you how many emails that's happened. She hadn't done a house. It was someone's doing a house. Alright, Christina Battle. Okay. If I want to look at, see right here, see the heart? Those are the ones that are her favorites, and this is just a light bulb. So if I click on that, now I see she picked these out. Well, 2 of them are already pending. One of them expired, and then there's 3 active ones that are still out there that she really likes. Now they're not looking probably until late spring, but they want to get an idea of what the market would do for them. So this is kind of in hand with what Pete says about it with the app. So when the day that she looked at that and put the heart over here, it had Christina Battle, and it showed the heart. And that way I knew I could go in there and look at it. Alright, you think you know how to do that? Okay. Alright, so
Yeah, that's all on the computer.
I'm now going to take you on the last part of class, on the flow chart.
Question.
Yeah.
Can you put in an address, just a random address?
And that's in the last?
Uh-huh.
If it's listed.
Yeah, it may not show the results, but yes, you can. You can put the exact address in there.
Okay, gotcha.
But you gotta be exact. Like if it's, North Druid Hills, and you only put North Druid Hill, it's not gonna show up.
But if you put North Druid Hill with an asterisk,
There you go.
it'll show up.
He's been to his class.
RTFM.
Alright. You guys have already had the lead generation class, correct?
Yes.
Alright, so what were some of the ideas about where we get buyers?
Family,
Family?
schools, churches, work, grocery store, frequent visit places, expired.
You gotta memorize, don't you?
I looked back here to see what you were reading.
I will tell you, so I didn't hear her say two things that are important, I think, to get by. One are your kids' activities, if you have kids.
Yeah.
Man, they are, I was telling Tim, you know, he helps coach his kids' basketball team, baseball, and when people see you in a position of trust, you know, they're trusting their children with you twice a week for 2 hours at a time, then I feel confident that Tim can also go find me a house because I already trust him.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, being a team mom, being the picture mom, the snack mom, you know, just come up with something where you're involved in your kids' activities and teams.
I can't play a piano back.
Exactly.
I know, I resent them for all the activities, so I guess it will all pay off now.
Yeah.
You resent them.
Yeah.
I'm a chauffeur, literally, like, it's hard to raise kids in America.
I know.
Because you just...
It's
Yeah,
annoying
all
when
the
they
time.
beg you to sign up for it, and then every week when you take them, they're crying, I don't want to go. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm happy to take you. You're worth it.
The other place I didn't hear anyone mention was open houses. Now, you said you worked at an open house. I know Tim, you and Bob worked at an open house. Anyone else have you worked at? Okay.
That's
All right.
where I got the one client I had a couple of years ago.
Okay. So through an open house. So I'm going to tell you two things that you won't hear other agents tell you. First of all, when you work in an open house, it's like going on speed dating.
Right.
You have about 5-6 minutes, 10 at the most, to get that person to a next date. You're trying to buy them a drink.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you've got to figure out the 6th degree of separation between those people and you where there's a common connection. So usually the first question I ask is, well, where do you guys live now? Oh, we live in so-and-so. Oh, really? What part of so-and-so? So, you know, this place. And then, you know, you're just trying to come up with something where, you know, a lot of times it's you know, the other day I had a couple, we're from East Paulding. Oh, did you go to high school at East Paulding? Yeah, I went to East Paulding High School. I said, you know Coach Boydstone, the basketball coach out there, did you? And they're like, no, I think he was after we left. But once again, you know, I was familiar with where they were from. Also, I played softball out at Mount Tabor Park. I asked them about Mount Tabor. Oh, yeah, I know exactly where they are. So once again, there was a connection right there. So I'm still trying to get those people right now, but at least we're communicating. So that's the first thing. You got to go get some buyers. All right, we just found out. Oh, the other thing I was going to tell you about an open house. 95% of the people that'll come in an open house will not use you as an agent.
That's true.
You know, some you will kind of connect with, but you see them leaving, and you're like, even though you've got maybe their contact information on the sign sheet, maybe not. You know, this is a last-ditch effort to kind of throw a lifeguard at them. So what I'll do is I got a card in my pocket. I've already got it written on the back, and I'll say, "Here's my card," and on the back of it, I'm showing it to them. And by coming to my open house today, you're now eligible for the 1% give back program. What's that? Well, this home right here was $599. If I were to write you a check for $6,000, would that help you buy this house? Well, yeah. I go, well, I can't actually do that, but what I can do is give you a realtor credit of 1% of the home, and then at closing, that's money in your pocket that you don't have to spend. And a lot of times, you know, all of a sudden, everybody wants a deal, right?
Right.
Okay, well, I'm giving you a deal, not on the house, but on me as the realtor. So the thinking is, I'd rather have 2% of something than 100% of nothing, because they're walking out the door never to be heard from again. I will generally close somewhere between 4 and 5 properties a year using this 1% give back program. The reason I say you'll never hear the other agents say it is a lot of people just feel like, I'm not giving in my commission. But here, to me, that's like, money from the sky. These people were not part of your referral program. No one referred them to you. You kind of got them on your own.
How do you write that in any contract?
So it's in your buyer's brokerage agreement. You would write that in there that, the buyer will receive 1% credit on any property where the selling commission is 3%. Now, if it's 2.5, you can only give them, 0.5%.
Is that on your open house that you're sitting?
No, anything. So my whole thing is.
He wants to sign it.
No, I know that, but the thing is that if you're sitting at your own open house and you give them
I'd give 1% too.
That's you're then giving back. I don't know what percent you might get. 6% if you sold it.
Both sides.
Yeah, both sides, but Keller Williams doesn't allow that, but still, I mean.
Yeah, but they can be your customer.
Yeah, but they're going to buy a house.
Yeah, I know.
They're either going to buy the house he's sitting in right now,
Exactly.
or he's going to take them to Tim's house, right?
Right. And therefore, I'll give 1% either way.
Yeah.
I'm still coming out ahead.
Right.
So anyway, that's just something you've got to feel comfortable with that script about the 1% give back program. Yeah.
Okay, so I haven't been to an open house yet. So my understanding is you said if they're working with an agent, we back up.
Right.
How do we still continue to make them feel hospitable while they're there?
Well, you're there to answer any questions because you want them to buy the house. Because you're there. I mean, technically, you're there to sell a home. Realistically, you're there to pick up clients.
Okay. And what if they don't want their agent anymore?
Well, they've got your information, and if they ask you a question like, "Well, I don't like my agent, how do I get rid of them?" then you can say, "Well, all you have to do is send them an email, and that ends the buyer's brokerage agreement." A lot of people don't realize that. That's why I don't have people sign it. It doesn't really mean a lot. But buyers sometimes don't know that. They think, "Oh, I'm under contract." Yeah, Tim.
That's the thing. Saturday when I was doing the open house with Diane, a young lady and her mother came in, and she said that she had an agent when she first came in. I introduced myself, gave her information on the property, said if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. They went about their way, and the mom came back and she was like, "Well, we kind of sort of have an agent."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, well, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask." And I just let her go about her way, and on her way out, she said, "Well, can I get one of your cards?" I'm like, "Sure, you can have one of my cards, but if you have an agent, I can't work with you."
And I would have even asked, "Well, did you sign something?" And they're like, "No, we didn't sign anything." I said, "Well, you don't really have an agent."
I think that's going to be...
So you can't ask them, did you sign something?
You can ask them that.
Okay.
That's
I
just
didn't
listening to
ask that.
people talk. That's been one of my biggest, just in passing, is hearing people, like you said, thinking they're under contract or feeling under duress because they're under contract, but they want out. And I was just wondering how we're supposed to play that.
You can just give them information, but if they ask you the question, "How do I get out of this?" you can say, you just need to send an email to your agent.
Thank you.
And generally, what you're telling them, you can say, "We've decided to go in a different direction." That's all that needs to be done.
So do you have anything formal about your 1% give back? There's nothing. You don't have anything printed on the back of your card.
No, I'll write that on there, and then I put it on the buyer's brokerage agreement.
Okay.
And I generally will do that up front. I follow up with an email on Monday to illustrate, and I give an example how the whole thing works.
What's your gut tell you that percentage of people who walk into an open house, when you ask them if they have an agent, they say yes, so that you won't hound the hell out of them?
Right.
Yeah, I would say a third.
So do you still tell them about the 1% give back?
Well, it's only people who don't have an agent and you feel like there could be a good connection. I like these people. I could work with these people. Let me at least throw a lifeguard. Now, a lot of times, you don't have to do that.
Right.
You know, they like you, and you can tell that, and they want to work with you. Well, I'm not going to offer 1% if I don't have to. It's just kind of at the end. All right, so we do the buyer's consultation. I've spent a lot of time on that since we've already done that. And that's where we sign the BBA, or very soon after that. And we leave that buyer's consultation, and we do homework. The buyer gets pre-qual. Agent sets up the drip. Okay. Everything to this point we've kind of talked about.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now we start showing homes. And during this showing of the homes, we start narrowing our search.
That's when you got the envelope.
And that could be if you want to do the envelope, if you got kidnapped. Which house would you buy? You know, the envelope really, to me, works good when you got out-of-town people, because you're looking at a lot of houses, and they don't know what to do. Otherwise, you're kind of eliminating. Remember, we're eliminating areas in town. But all of a sudden now, we narrowed the search, and now we've got a selection. We've got a candidate. And they're telling you, hey, we want to write a contract. We'd like to make an offer on this property. Now, if it's a first-time home buyer, think about you. You know, the first time you ever bought a home, or if you ever have bought one. This whole electronic signature has made it where people don't even know what they're signing. They're just
Click.
Click. And so if they're a first-time home buyer, and let's say we're out looking at homes, and they'll say, we want to make an offer of this. I'll say, okay, guys, why don't y'all go get lunch? Meet me at the office at 1:30. Okay, I'll come back here, and I'm gonna get the contracts done. I leave blank the price we're gonna offer. Now, knowing this, I probably have already sent them comps and stuff like that. And when they get here, they're gonna. I make a copy of the contract for the wife, the husband, and myself, and that way we can go over it together. I'm not going to go over the gut part that's the pre-printed, but boy, we're going to go over page 1 and the last page and make sure we all know what exhibits we're doing.
You mean you're going to print it out, or you're going to make them read it on their iPhone?
No, that's what I'm saying. We're printing it out. I like to meet in this room over there.
But what about if they're millennials and they want to read it on an iPhone?
Oh, they don't get that opportunity.
When you show up, it's printed. So when they show up, you already printed.
It's already printed, ready to go. When they get there, we go in there and there's 3 copies ready to go, and then I go over it with them. Now, let's say that doesn't work out and we have to write a second one. We don't do it. They've been through it. They know they can do electronic at that point. So we're now ready to write an offer. All right, here's where, this is where I get to be the side, if you haven't already done that. This is where they've already looked at the comps, but we want to make sure they've also looked at disclosures. And we want to find out about multiple offers. talked a little bit about first time versus a veteran buyer. Not a veteran Army person, but
Yeah.
someone who's done it before. Once again, I need to find out, I want to call the agent, and I want to find out, are there any current offers on the property? No. Are you negotiating one with anyone? No. Now it's open game. If they said, yeah, well, there's two offers in, but we're going to make a decision tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Alright, now I got to find out, how bad do these people really want the house?
Do you always believe the agents that tell you that they have an offer on the house?
I have to.
Yeah, I've got a situation where I don't trust the woman. I don't know if she's lying to me.
They could be, but they're risking their license, you know?
Okay.
I mean, you can't mislead, you have to have, I mean, I don't know how you prove it and everything, but, I mean, I think everyone has felt bad at some point.
Okay.
Like, you know, this thing's been out there for 6 weeks, and there's no offers, and all of a sudden I put an offer in, there's 2 offers already.
Right.
So once again, if there's multiple offers, I don't have a whole lot, I'm gonna have to offer either at list or greater than list, you know, to make this thing work. And then I always ask them the question, if we're offering, if it's multiple offers, I always say, guys, because they'll look at me and go, well, what should we offer? And I'll tell them, look, I think you need to be at least at this number to have a shot at it, but you need to pick a number where no matter what, if you lose by $1, you're not, you know, regretting yourself. All right. So you send the offer over, and then generally at this point, this can last from 1 day, it can last for a week. It's time to negotiate. And let me talk real quick about writing this offer. There's certain things that go into a contract as minimum. You got to have the purchase and sale agreement. You got to have the disclosures. You got to tell them how you're financing it. Even if it's all cash, there's an all cash exhibit. You know, is this FHA, is it conventional? You got to give them a snapshot of who your buyer is. If they're not, you know, there's a temporary occupancy agreement now. If they're not, we're giving them a couple days in the house, the owners. If it's built prior to 1978, we've got to do a lead-based paint exhibit. So these right here are the minimum things that you're going to have to add to your offer. Purchase and sale, the disclosures, both of them, if there are a community disclosure, financing. Everybody, if you don't know this, there's an FHA financing, there's a conventional, there's a VA, there's an all cash. Temporary occupancy, if we're not gaining possession at closing, and lead-based paint.
What about inspection?
No.
That's part of your purchase and sale, and the number of due diligence days.
And is there wire fraud?
Okay, Keller Williams makes everyone do wire fraud. I do not introduce it at this time. The reason is because people will forget it.
Right.
So generally the week of closing, I'm going to have them sign the wire fraud agreement. And explain to them, guys, you need to pick up the phone when you get the wiring instructions, call the attorney's office, and read the account numbers back to them. That's critical.
Thank you.
All right, so we're negotiating. As I say, it can last 1 day or 7 days. And let me tell you my biggest pet peeve now in real estate is, let's say the property comes on the market Thursday at noon, you're there at 2 o'clock, you send an offer over at 3:30. Well, you know it's going to be a hot property, so you you want to give a short time frame
Mhm.
for them to make a decision. And let's say you say by 10 o'clock the next morning. Short would be by 11:59 that night. But you generally want to try to at least give them to the next day early. And then you don't hear anything from that agent. And then you finally talk to them and say, well, we decided we're going to just take offers till Sunday and then make a decision. It's like, and that happens all the time.
No communication.
Well, it's not so much no communication, it's just, when we were in a seller's market over the last couple of years, they could do that. Where generally, I got an offer, so, let's get this thing, binding.
So, like, that same, this is a Keller Williams agent too. Like, that same lady I told you I didn't believe. I dealt with her on a house that was not even listed yet. A coming soon house, right? And I wanted it because I'm house hunting right now. So I put in an offer. She says, we have already 3 offers. It was on the coming soon. I'm like, okay, just read it, 2 days. I gave them 48 hours. 0 zilch. Didn't hear from her, and then she said, well, they decided to go on the market anyways. So they went on the market, and then I waited. I'm like, okay, now that you've been on the market, did your open house, can you come back to me? So at this time, we're 7 days in. Nothing. Haven't heard. I saw it pending the other day. Nothing, zilch, and this is a Keller Williams person.
Yeah. Well, they're not all good.
It's horrible.
The old do the right thing sometimes just doesn't work. Alright, so you negotiate, and now, hallelujah, we're under contract.
One day.
Alright, now your work has just begun. Alright, so there's 2 due diligences happening simultaneously. One is you got your inspection. Usually inspection is 7 to 14 days. I would say 10 is the norm. Okay? And this is where we're doing the inspection, doing the termite, doing anything we want to do at that point. This is your opportunity to find out about the home. Do the radon test.
But Kevin, doesn't this also mean that you find the inspector, you do the inspection, he writes a report, and then you come back and say, we want you to fix this, this, and this. So it's not 10 days to have an inspection done, it's 10 days to have the inspection done, and you come back with how you want to rejigger it.
You're right. He's ahead of my game here. He read the Cliff Notes, Steve. But I'll share that in a second. So simultaneously with this inspection is you also have the financing. That's going to be anywhere from I'm going to say 14 to 24 days. All right. So that's your client is you're encouraging them to get all their documents into the loan officer. Okay, at the same time, I'm inspecting over here, and as Pete just mentioned, we now got to negotiate the inspection. So all this has to happen within this time period. So if you're in a 10-day due diligence, you want to have it inspected by days 1, 2, or 3. And generally, I mean, John Q. Public doesn't know who an inspector is. And so I will call my best inspector and say, hey, pencil us in next week. Let's say it's today. I would probably pencil it in Friday or Monday. And then I'll ask them, I say, would you like me to refer you an inspector, or do you know someone yourself? And as I said, most people are like, I don't know anybody. All right, well, this is, if I was going to buy a home, this is who I would use. Now, they may want a couple names, and that's fine.
Because they're paying for it.
That's right, because they're paying $425 for it. If it's a nice home, they could be paying $500, $600, $700 for it. So, here's one of the key things. You want to make sure that you get through this due diligence before Mr. Loan Officer orders the appraisal. Because then, if it doesn't appraise, we got a whole another negotiation to go through. So we got all kind of negotiations going on all the time through this whole transaction. I will tell you, it is much better to come up with a dollar amount than it is to negotiate specific repairs on the inspection. There's people who will look at inspection reports and estimate how much it would cost to fix it. There are sometimes you can get vendors out there within that 10 days to come up with the number. But anyway, those are things right there that you've got to negotiate and come up with a dollar amount. And it's not, once again, it's not like they're writing a check at closing. They're doing one or two things. They're adding it to the closing cost, or they're reducing the price. Well, when I reduce the price, that does not really help me my payment. It doesn't put money in my pocket. Okay? But if I had $5,000 and now I have $8,000 money, then that's going to help me. That's money in my pocket with closing costs.
Now, who are you?
I mean, I'm the buyer.
Okay. But if they give you, let's just say they say, all right, we'll give you $10,000 to fix everything.
Right.
So and they reduce the price by $10,000. You've got to come out of pocket $10,000 to fix all that stuff, and you can't roll that into the mortgage, correct?
Well, say that again.
There's $10,000 worth of stuff that's wrong with the house.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I want to buy your house. You say, I tell you what, Pete. I'll give you $10,000. I'll give you $10,000. I'll reduce the price by $10,000, and you fix everything.
Right.
And I say, oh, okay. So then we get to the closing table. You've reduced the price of the house by $10,000. We close tomorrow. I got to come out of pocket $10,000 to fix all this stuff, but I can't roll it into the mortgage.
That's why I was talking about, if you subtract it from the price of the home, it really doesn't help you.
Me, Pete.
Yes, help the buyer.
Right.
Because you still got to come up with the money to fix the stuff. But if you add it to closing cost, and sometimes you have to do a combination, because let's say you already got $6,000 closing costs, and there's only $7,000 total there. You know, now I'm maxed out on that, but then I need these other things fixed.
And you could also argue that if I'm buying your house, I would rather have my contractors fix it than your
contractors. They're going to do it the cheapest way possible.
Because your contractors work for the real estate attorney that Mia's been dealing with, right?
No, you're right. All right, I got here about 8 minutes to get through this, so let me keep going. All right, just the due diligence. Now, let's say we get through due diligence, and now we're going to work with two very important people. Work with your lender and your attorney. Alright. This is where you're in constant communication with your lender, especially with the appraisal. You got to make sure that appraisal comes through. The attorney's office, as soon as you went under contract, you should have emailed them a copy of the contract, as well as the lender. Give them both a copy of the contract, and then the attorney's office is going to start sending stuff out to your buyer. They're going to want you to arrange a time for the closing. So you got to coordinate that with the other party, make sure that 10 in the morning is good for everybody can get there. No, we have to be an afternoon closing. Okay, what's available? Never try to close on the last day of the month. You know, if the last day of the month is the 31st, close on the 29th.
Or a Friday?
or you don't wanna close on the last Friday of the month.
Or any Friday.
It's the last Friday of the month is the crazy one.
Who does the attorney represent?
The attorney represents the lender unless it's an all-cash transaction. Then they represent the buyer. A lot of people don't get that. The other thing is you want to select the attorney. There's so many pushy sellers out there that are saying you must close with Weissman Nowak.
I know, what is that?
You don't have to. That's just they want to try to steer the business to their friends.
Oh.
Now,
They buy a lot of pizza.
if it's an estate sale and they've already done a lot of work on the upfront,
Okay.
then it makes sense. If it's a foreclosure, it makes sense. If it's new construction, it makes sense. Okay? All right. So you've got everything cleared. Now there's only two things left to do. One is you're doing your walkthrough. So generally the day before closing or the day, it's preferred to do it the day of closing, but if you're closing at 9 or 10 in the morning, that's kind of rough. You need to go out there the day before. And what are you looking for? Well, you just want to make sure that the home is how you expect it. And I'll tell you the biggest things that get, I don't want to use the word screwed up, but kind of messed up. Refrigerators are always one where all of a sudden the movers just took the refrigerator and and the seller didn't even know that they took them. So you got to make sure that everything that's there. You negotiate the patio furniture. Is the patio furniture still there? They were supposed to put the radon machine in. Oh, here's the radon machine. Oh, here's our post report where it's now below 4.0. If they are going to do repairs, you need to ask for those receipts at least 48 hours prior to the walkthrough. So that way you can, because when this thing closes, your buyer needs to have some reference if they screw up. Most every person comes with a 30-day guarantee. So let's say 2 weeks, the plumber came in and fixed this one item, and all of a sudden it's leaking again. Now they got someone to call to say, hey, you said you fixed this, it's still leaking. Okay, well, and that way we're not calling the old seller and trying to look them up and deal with those people. So you do your walkthrough, and then the final thing is you're going to the closing table. Personally, I always for my buyers, I always try to give them a nice gift. There's a little place in East Cobb called Signatures over by Merchants Walk. They do a very nice tray for me. It's a black tray. So if the people who are buying it or the Thompsons, it would say the Thompsons on the tray. Turn it over, it says the address of the property they're buying and established January the 23rd, 2019. And believe me, the wives just, oh, that's so nice. So once again, the happiest day that they're supposed to be, you made a impression on them. All right, I feel bad for kind of having to jet through that at the end, but questions. And here I want to say this up front because Bob's dealing with this right now. We didn't even touch base on new construction. And I will tell you up front, with the new construction, you've got to put your ego at the door. You need to become best friends with the on-site agent and turn it over to the on-site agent. Remember, they want that to close as much as you do. So, by all means, with the new construction, because a lot of times agents will feel like, well, I want to show my buyer that I'm of worth to them. Well, your of worth is to keep them on schedule, make sure that they get to all their design things to do, get them a good framing inspector, get them an inspector at the. So I mean, you'll be doing a lot, maybe just not the same things if you were negotiating in the beginning. Yes?
Do you have a copy of this that's typed, or do we need to just take pictures?
You'll need to take pictures. I guess I could do that and send it to you, that would probably be a good idea. Other questions?
Rip it down and stick it on the wall.
I was going to say, you want to rip it off
Just
all
rip it
together?
down and stick it on the wall.
You can take mine's on one page.
Kevin, do you usually
I feel bad now, Karen.
up front when you buy a property has tenants occupied, and do you require the security deposit up front when you make an offer?
So, they're buying a property, an investor,
You're welcome.
with tenants already in place,
Wait.
and the lease extends past closing. In other words, you're inheriting these clients, is what you're saying?
Yeah, before you make an offer, would you like to require to get the security deposit? I mean, the 1 month deposit.
Well, I think you've got to, once again, you got to negotiate that, because they need to be given their security deposit back from the current owner.
That's right. So do you ask when you make an offer, or?
I would say that would be in your special steps that you would, but you wouldn't do it prior to going binding. It would probably be within due diligence. You would, everyone would agree that Mr. Seller is going to return the deposit, and they're going to.
Well, wouldn't your disclosure should have the lease in it.
You only have to ask for that separate.
Because if the lease says it's a 3-year lease, but you think it's 2 weeks left, then you're screwed. So I would think that the lease would be part of the disclosure, or certainly an appendix.
And most investors want someone with a lease. They're happy with that.
Right. But legally, they have to, the security deposit has to go back.
Yeah. And the seller could just transfer it to the new owner at closing.
Correct.
Which is probably the easiest thing to do. Anything else?
So at closing, do you sit on both sides of the deal? Do you sit with the seller first and then sit with the buyer? How do you?
No, you always want to be there by your client.
Right.
About a week prior to closing, you will get, you will not get the true Alta CD that the buyer gets. The lenders cannot legally send you a copy, which I've never understood that.
Right.
Because generally you like to go over that with them.
Okay.
So you've got to depend on your loan officer being good at that. It's also good, they have to, the way it's set up now, if I'm closing on a Friday, they have to have signed their closing documents on Tuesday. So I always want to call my lender up and say, hey, are the Thompsons signing today? Oh, they already signed yesterday. Oh, great. Okay, I don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Because if they wait and sign on Wednesday, guess what? You got to move the closing to Monday. It has to be 3 days in between.
Okay.
There's a ton of stuff. I mean, I can't go over all this in 3 hours, but as I said up front, and Cynthia will tell you, stop. My office is. I used to always hang out right there in the front, and I moved all the way in the back, and my office is in the back corner by the fountain outside. I'm here to answer any question and take the time to help you. That's what we're all here to do. Okay? I'm just, I enjoy being at the office, so I'm here more than a lot of people. Anything else? All right. I'll hand over to Mortgage 101.
Or back on
So,
break.
I guess you got about 6 minutes here. You can take a break.
Thank you, Kevin.
You got it.
Thank you very much. We'll be bothering you later.
Hello, how are you?
I heard applause. Hello. How are you? Good to see you. Applause for Kevin?
We knew you were coming in.
So what?
You said that last time.
Is he regular enough?
Yes.
Thank you for filling in the blanks there.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. How was the pizza? Pizza good? Need more? We got the steak and lobster coming next.
Evaluation.
Sometimes I make him a bottle of wine.
No, see?
Thank you. I need that in my evaluation form.
Get ready to take it up to the
Were you
kitchen.
happy with the final picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
I'm happy.
Awesome. All right.
Anybody got to say for the little mortgage talk?
Yes,
I'll leave earlier.
No, you can't.
I have to.
No, sorry, we won't allow it.
Well, I pay my bills this month, I might say.
Are you on furlough?
No.
Did you do?
I'm looking for somebody that's on furlough to help out. I don't know anybody.
You really?
Yeah. I think it's a terrible thing.
It is horrible.
I think it's just
I can't even imagine.
no, and
Because I told my husband the other day, I'm like, that might be a good prospecting, like, people are going to sell their house.
oh,
He looked at me, he's like, any decent mortgage lender will let them skip 1 or 2 payments.
I mean,
He's like, maybe the renters will have more problems than the people.
I think it's I mean I flew last weekend.
Right.
And going through the TSA, I'm like, these people are here working and they're not even getting paid.
That's awful.
It was.
Did I get yours?
I got.
It was probably the quickest I've ever been through customs, though.
Really?
Yeah, we were actually fortunate enough to be in Jamaica last weekend. So flying back, it was like, we go up to the customs and, did you bring anything illegal back? And we're like, no. And he goes, come on. I'm like,
man!
seriously?
You're like, oh, man!
Seriously? Yeah. That would have been the time to fill my bag. Bring back some of the good stuff from Jamaica, man.